What are some of the issues with individuals looking up moving to Serbia? And this is the propaganda that many of the Western countries put out there in regards to Serbia. They, essentially say it's a bad country, there's war, they're unreliable, corruption, they're just bad. They're the Russian puppet. They are this, that, and the other. And a lot of these Western countries put themselves up on this pedestal, thinking that they are the bee's knees and there's nothing wrong with them. Now, this comes to me after reading this article that just came out the other day talking about stay away from Serbia, strong American warning to Serbia. And it's funny why they're talking about this. And this is about how Serbia is essentially becoming stronger, not only economy wise, but also military wise. Serbia has one of the strongest militaries. And I've said this before, Serbia also has strong economic relations with other countries, many of these which the United States, funny enough, does not like. Let's say Russia, let's say China. Serbia also just came in with a new energy deal with Azerbaijan. There's so many things that Serbia is doing for the benefit of Serbia that a lot of these Western countries do not like, as well as I just also read an article that the EU just suspended the funds that Serbia receives because it is not aligning with EU rules and the way that EU wants Serbia to function, essentially, which, that's fine. You want to blackmail some countries. It just shows that it's not essentially a democracy when you enter the EU. Funny how if you don't do what other countries want, that they will smear you and put out propaganda. But when you do that for those countries, they're going to start bombing you, essentially just like what the US does with many countries and what US has done to former Yugoslavia, which is still very relevant in many people's minds here in Serbia. So let's dive into this article. I want to talk to you about what I see is the way they paint Serbia here. A very strong American warning has been delivered to Serbia. This happened during a meeting of the United States ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, with President Alexander Vucic. Ambassador Whitaker was clear. Serbia's defense and security cooperation with unreliable partners creates long-term strategic dependencies that are difficult to dismantle and complicate future cooperations. So because that Serbia is, basically cooperating with other countries, unlike what the United States does, they don't cooperate with anyone. If you don't listen to the United States, they're going to essentially come and bomb you. Look what's happening in Iran right now. That's something that was supposed to be a couple days, essentially, that shouldn't have even happened, if you ask me, is now going into, 2 months of war now. But I think the United States bit off a little bit more than they can chew on that side. For a modern and visionary partnership, Serbia's strategic direction must be aligned with the West. Security depends on choosing the right partners, the U.S. Embassy in Belgrade said in a statement. Funny enough that, they're saying choosing the right partners. How many countries around the world have, chosen to partner with the United States, and the United States ended up, backstabbing those countries, or if they left that agreement, that the United States came and bombed them? How is the United States a good partner when you are always told what to do? And I'm not only not going to talk about United States, but look at what the European Union do, these Western European countries. You are going to acknowledge the the independent state of Ukraine, but then you do not acknowledge that for Kosovo. And that is another big point that I need to make is here that a lot of the rules these Western countries make are not in favor of those countries. They essentially make up the rules and apply those rules only to who they seem fit. So under international law, Serbia was not supposed to be bombed, or at that point it was Yugoslavia. The whole reason they wanted to do that was so that they can implement the U.S. could implement a military base in Kosovo, and that is that. But that is okay because the United States wanted to do that. But what Russia is doing with the Ukraine right now is a no-no. What America is doing with Iran right now is also a okay thing because, we're fighting for whatever we're fighting for. But when Iran retaliates, now they're bad. So it's funny how there's a two-tier system here as to who the rules apply to and who they do not. And I think that it's great that Serbia is remaining independent here, choosing to cooperate with countries that want good business, not just a one-sided, iron fist of saying you do it my way or else, essentially. So this article goes on to say, on the other hand, the Serbian president spoke about difficult geopolitical circumstances and claimed that he wanted to maintain peace in the Balkans despite being the only one threatening it. This is funny because he did not say that Serbia is the only one threatening peace in Serbia. This was manipulated because Serbia has the strongest military in the Balkans, and the United States saying that now Serbia having the strongest military and arming itself is now somehow aggressive to other countries. Croatia has come out and said, this is bad. Albania has come out and said this is bad. But the thing is, if you have a strong military, you are going the enemies are going to have second thoughts when it comes to attacking you. So I think there's nothing wrong with having a good defense system. Look at how much the U.S. brags about their wonderful U.S. military and how we have the best. Why is it okay for one country but not another country? I particularly emphasized that for Serbia, maintaining the security of our people in Kosovo is of fundamental importance, as well as continuing a responsible and serious policy that includes both dialogue and insistence on respecting international law and undertaking obligations, Vucic wrote on Instagram. Now, I'm not sitting here and going to say Vucic is the best president. I'm not saying he's the worst president. I honestly don't have a clue. I'm here, 3 years into this country. I hear what many people say, but at the same time, they say that things that contradict why they're against the president. So I'm still coming up with my own beliefs as to who is right, who is wrong. I believe that no matter what political party gets in power in any country, that there's going to be people that don't like the individual and do like the individual. And I think that many people, like they say here, they've lived better now than they've ever lived in Serbia. So I think Vucic has done great with implementing great infrastructure here, with raising the wages here in Serbia, making great connections with other countries. But at the same time, I'm sure he's done things that are not the greatest either. Now, I mentioned something earlier in this video about how the EU is suspending their funding to Serbia, even though that Serbia is not part of the EU. This is a way to, sweeten up the deal per se, I would say. But here, the article here talks about Serbia could lose 1.5 billion from EU over close ties with Moscow. Well, that ended up happening because this is an older article. And it goes on to say Serbia could potentially lose 1.5 billion in European funding because of democratic backsliding in its close ties to Moscow. The European Commission is reporting weighing such a move. So again, the European Union is supposed to be some sort of democracy, why is it that the country can't decide who to work with? If you think about this when it comes to history, Russia and Serbia has much stronger ties from a historical point than any other of these European countries. Serbia and Russia actually banded together to defeat the Nazis back in the day. We're not going to talk about that, but somehow now Serbia needs to join those people that they once fought and disregard the country that help them out in history. I think that is a huge red flag when it comes to if and when Serbia should join the European Union, which I have said before, I think it's better just to stay neutral, much like Switzerland has, and like how the UK has left the European Union as well. Now, that is not to say that UK is in great state of affairs right now, because there's many things that happened when they exited the EU, and now with the migrant crisis and the huge amount of taxes that are being implemented on the citizens in the UK, it's not a surprise to me that we're seeing so many UK citizens moving to Serbia. Because one, Serbia is close enough that if they need to go back home and visit friends and family, they can just hop on a flight and get there. But at the same time, you're not taxed to death in this country. So we're seeing a lot of high net worth individuals, not only high net worth, but we're seeing a lot of them saying, hey, listen, we want to set up shop here in Serbia and save a bunch of money. We're seeing also just average people saying, hey, listen, we don't feel safe in this country anymore, and we want to move somewhere that we feel safe and don't have to deal with the nonsense that's happening in this country. So I'm getting a little bit distracted in this video, but I wanted to talk to you about how a lot of our countries, or a lot of our clients are saying, hey, listen, we want to move to Serbia. We think on a personal level that Serbia is a great option for us. But what about this article? What about that article? What about this article? And I say, like I said to my wife when we first moved here, because she did the same thing when we were planning on moving here, she says, all I see is war, bread lines, it's the infrastructure's below what is acceptable, blah, blah, blah. And I told her that time, don't worry about it. It's not what it's saying. You should just go there and visit and you'll see it. And after many years of being here, she said we should have moved here earlier. And I think that's a great way to cap off this video, is that if you are on the fence of moving to Serbia, you first come and visit, see what it's like before you make that final decision. But again, if you know what you want, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we'd be happy to help. I'll see you on the next video.